Let's get into the K-Wave News Zoom room where we have Department of Rev Tax Director Dafne Shimizu standing by, live from Barragata Heights. Good morning, Dafne.
Hafaday Sabrina, Hafaday Chris, Hafaday Jason, and Hafaday Guam, and Hafaday to all the link listeners. So, you know what? Thank you for having me on today. I know there are a lot of people who have questions. Probably the number one question is, where is my EIP2 check? And we are getting a lot of questions about EIP2. Just to give an update, as of Wednesday, this past Wednesday, we had processed 36,151 EIP2 checks. You know, we did about $42 million, a little bit over $42 million so far over the last 2 weeks. All of those payments have been transmitted to Treasurer Guam. So those payments, for the ones that we did this week, where we did about 22 million, almost 22 million, those were transmitted to the treasurer yesterday morning. We did about 20 million last week. So all of those, the ones from last week were transmitted. The ones for this week were already transmitted, and we're going to continue to process. I know a lot of people are wondering, what order are you processing? We're actually processing in order of filing date. So, you know, based on your filing date, we started with, again, probably like around January 27 was the first date that people were allowed to file their 2019 returns. We began to process based on filing date, and we're going to continue to do that. So we expect to, you know, complete the majority of these payments very soon. We're continuing to process. I've been talking with my team. Our goal is to try to get the majority of the payments out before Feb 12th. And why that's significant is February 12th is the opening of the filing season for 2021. And that's the first date that we'll be receiving 2020 tax returns. And so we do, though, I want to take note, Sabrina, that we do have until March 19, 2021 to make all of our EIP2 payments. But the reason why we're trying to make these payments as soon as possible, or get these out as soon as possible, is because for those people who, for whatever reason, may not have received EIP2, or they may not, or they may be eligible for a little bit more, they're going to need the information on their EIP1 and 2 in order to put on their tax return for 2020, so that they can get that difference if there's a difference, or so that they can make sure that, you know, they get it if they were otherwise eligible for this period. So that's why that's very significant. So we're very happy, again, that we've been able to get out about $42 million. We actually, you know, again, just released another set of checks to the Treasurer of Guam for mailing yesterday. And that's on the EIP too. And again, we're going to continue to be processing those and getting the information out to the public as soon as possible. There will be notices that are going to be sent out to all of the people who receive an EIP2, just like happened with EIP1. What's different with regards to this particular notice is that we don't have a 15-day requirement. So in the prior EIP and EIP1, we had to prepare those letters about within 15 days of the day we make payment. For this particular law, we were actually given a little bit of leeway, and it's based on, I guess, the standard is as soon as reasonably possible. So we're going to get notices out. Those were actually important because there were people who received EIP1, they received their letter, but they actually didn't receive a payment. And I'm not sure why that happened. Probably there's very different, many different reasons why. So that letter was pretty critical, you know, to people being able to tell if they got EIP, especially for those people who may have gotten their check afterward, or for whatever reason got the letter before they got the check. We also will be having an EIP2 portal. We have been working on that. Remember, we did launch EIP1. It got launched a little bit later, Sabrina, than I had hoped it was going to be launched, but we got it. We're actually working now on just kind of finalizing the EIP2 portal so that we'll have that available and that people won't have to call us to check whether they have gotten their EIP2. So we're going to get that up and running very soon.
Daph, you mentioned that the EIP2 payments were based on the filing date. What date are you guys on?
I don't know where we are. I'm sorry. As of today, I know. I just know we're basing it on filing date. But Sabrina, we're trying to get as many payments out all the way till, you know, the most recent filing date that we can. And again, it's based on 2019 returns that were filed or validly filed and processed, or it's based on a form EIP-NF that was filed by November 21, 2020. So that's really, you know, again, what we're basing it on.
And again, next Friday is when you are DRT is hoping to get all of this paid out, even though the deadline for complete out payout is the 19th of March, right? Because of the tax filing season.
Right. So we're trying to get as many payments as possible. I believe we'll get the majority out within the next week or so, because again, we want to make sure that people have that information.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have to pivot. Right. So we're going to have to pivot from paying out the EIP. And what it's called the EIP, if you get it prior to getting it on your return, it's called RRC, or Recovery Rebate Credit, when you're getting it based on your filed return. So not only are we going to have to, we're trying to get it all out so people can file their returns and have the proper information, but also because we're going to have to pivot and to begin to process 2020 returns, so that for those people who may not have received it, maybe they weren't eligible based on their 2018, 2019 return, they weren't able to get EIP 1 or 2, but they may be eligible based on their 2020. So we have to pivot and we have to start paying those, because the standard of, being able or paying those out as soon as possible still stands, even though it's going to be the recovery rebate credit.
We do have a question. How often are the Rev Tax, and I know this has always been one of the criticisms, how often are the Rev Tax voice mailboxes checked daily and emptied? The only working Rev Tax number is the Lieutenant Governor's office number.
I know actually I've been talking with my team, because as you know, we had in the last week, we just have been over the last few weeks, we've been gearing up to open up. Also what's happened, and again, we have had to shut down certain branches over this last month because of the fact that we did have some positive cases in our agency. That resulted because we shut down multiple branches. We shut down our administration office for a week or so. We shut down our driver's license branch. We shut down quite a few branches. And so what happened when that happened is, of course, there were some delays. And a lot of our team is still, I think we were still working to try to get clearance from public health so we can make sure we come back in and get up and running. We actually have had to ask for some help from other agencies. And so, we've had Department of Labor. Also, Gita has been helpful in being able to help us, because we have had a significant backlog in our Dropbox and also our mail. And so, we're trying to get to things. I know it's hard. I know that it's been challenging. I myself actually answer phone calls as well. I also get direct emails from our people, so I do my best to forward those or respond as quickly as possible. So for people who are having some challenges getting to us, I want to thank you for your patience and let you know that we're continuing to try to improve on it. I was talking with someone last night from our team, again, just to make sure that we are working to make sure that everybody's checking their boxes. But what's happening now is, because we have walk-in services in the morning, we're trying to we actually have people who are outside who are monitoring and assisting. Also, we have GPD, but we have people who are outside and kind of paneling people, making sure that people's applications are complete, so that when they come in, their experience with us is a good one, and that they're in and out as quickly as possible. So we have people from our different branches that are out and helping. So that means that when we, one of my really good friends actually had said to me, when something's number one, then you can only have one thing that's number one, right? So we're trying our best to serve outside. And then what happens is then, of course, our mailboxes and other things become kind of second. Not that it's not important, but, it becomes the thing that we work on the next. So in the afternoons, we'd still do service. Again, because, Sabrina, we do limited walk-in services, and that means limited in terms of the number of hours we have, limited in terms of the capacity as well. We're trying to serve as many people as we can. I'll tell you, even when I was coming in before 7, our team was already letting people into the parking lot, just so that we can get them off of Route 16. They were making sure that they know what services that they're getting. We actually have a numbering system so that we know what order people come in, and we serve in that order, and we don't serve people out of order, which can cause a problem. So, I want to thank, I know, again, it is a huge issue, answering phones and answering emails. That's something that I'm going to make sure that today we work to get to again. And, to all those people again who are continuing to try to get to us, we're doing our best. I promise you we are. And we're going to, again, we just are trying to do our best to get to where we need to be so that we can continue to serve. But, we're going to continue I will be checking on those mailboxes today for sure.
On average, how many, since reopening for face-to-face service, on average, how many people are you guys seeing? Because I know when Chris comes into work, he sees the long line.
We're actually
of
playing
cars.
video,
We have
Daph.
video up right now.
I got some
Yeah.
video I shot.
The long lines of people waiting along Route 16, and that's even before you guys are even open.
Yeah, this is very early in the
Yes,
morning.
right.
Like,
And you know what?
4:30.
We actually have like GPD, and we have some of our team here since like 5:30 in the morning because they're making sure that we put out the cones. They're working on traffic control. They're already working to try to make sure that, again, we're prepared so that when people come into our parking lot, we are ready to serve you and help you. And I believe that so as you know, Sabrina, we actually had to we couldn't serve both driver's license and vehicle registration on the same days. Those are probably our highest volume services. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have walk-in services for driver's license. On Thursday, Friday, we have walk-in services for vehicle registration. My vehicle registration supervisor had actually run some reports, and he told me that I think on average, probably we're seeing about 400 transactions for vehicle registrations in a day. And that doesn't necessarily equate to a person, but that means that we have people like, you know, they're doing their ownership registration, transfer of registration, getting a transfer of title, vehicle registration, other things. Those things are what we're doing. The other thing that we noticed too is, you know, and what we did change in this week, which we didn't announce yet, but because there are people who need what are called vehicle operating permits. And vehicle operating permits are basically the permits that are needed for, like, for example, when you ship in your vehicle from off island, right? You need a permit in order to drive it so that you can get a safety inspection before you can get it registered. So a lot of people were running into the issue of, okay, I need my permit because I have my car over at, you know, at the port. And of course, after a while, there are port fees, there are, you know, fees for storage that get charged. So how can we get those out? So what we did, because you know those particular types of services are just a few minutes, and we didn't want to have those count toward the 400 transactions. We wanted to make sure that we got those in and out. So this past Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as people were coming in, and I did announce earlier this week that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoons, we're accepting handicap placard renewals and handicap placard applications by walk-in. And also we're accepting those vehicle operating permits by walk-in too. So what we're trying to do again is limit the vehicle registration services that are walk-in services to really those things that take a little bit more time, like when somebody has sold a car and they need to transfer title, when they need to, you know, do things like that. But on the vehicle registration side, probably about 400 transactions. On the driver's license section, and this is for our morning services, but we're doing is walk-in only, I think we have about 150 people that we're able to serve. And again, because it does that particular service takes a little bit more time than does vehicle registration for the most part. So that's how many we serve on that side. On the tax side, although I know as we were kind of getting to the W-2 deadline, the W-3SS deadline, we had a lot of people come in. We're not seeing as many people on the tax side right now, but we're expecting that Feb 12, when we begin to receive tax returns, that we're going to have a huge line. We're going to be announcing our hours for that and what our services are going to be for that for Feb 12. Also, we do have other things that are coming up in addition to the opening of the tax filing season next week, Friday. And the following week, we have our first installment for real property taxes going to be due. And so, you know, we have kind of back-to-back things happening that are coming up at Rev Tax. For real property taxes, though, I recommend highly that people, if you have your real property tax statement, you can actually pay it online. So if you go to our website, guamtax.com or myguamtax.com, you can work to get those payments done online. One of my family members actually called me the other day, and I had somebody walk her through it, and she was so happy that she didn't have to come up here and she didn't have to go to ITC building. So if you want to eliminate having to go through the lines, having to go and wait, you know what, you can actually pay those online. But that is also coming up. So Feb 12 is a big date for us. Feb 19, and then, you know, is also a big date for us as well.
Can I just we had a question here about the for those who didn't file in 2019 and you're getting the recovery rebate credit. How does that work when you file? Like for those people who didn't file in 2019, I don't know what they were thinking, but when they finally do file, what does that mean in English? Because I don't even know what a recovery.
Okay.
rebate credit is?
So,
Is that, are we getting cash
so,
back, or how's it work?
so this is the thing for EIP two. It's based on a 2019 return, and as you know, EIP one, we stopped making payments on those since December 31, 2020, and for those people who, for whatever reason, they didn't get EIP two, they didn't get EIP one, but they are eligible, they're going to have to claim that on their 2020 return, and that when it's before it's paid on your 2020 return, they call it EIP. When it's paid on your 2020 return, it's called a recovery rebate credit. And so it's just it's kind of, I don't know, a different name for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's kind of like you consider the I don't know, the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? So it's caterpillar prior to it kind of blooming and blossoming, and and then it becomes a butterfly when you're. So it's RRC is when you're being paid on your 2020 return, so that's kind of the difference.
So you're still getting the EIP, but just under a different name because you didn't
Correct.
file your tax in.
Correct, right. It's just a different name for it, but you're getting it. Actually, what's happening right now is people are receiving an advance credit. You're receiving, actually, it's called a credit, but you're receiving it in advance of filing a 2020 return. And again, so IRS created these two terminologies so that we're able to identify what it is, right? And when you got it paid. If you got an EIP, that means you got it as an advance. If you get an RRC or rebate recovery credit, that means you got it when you filed your return.
Yeah. So when is it paid out? When you get your tax refund?
So we, as I mentioned, the rebate recovery credit, just like the EIP, we're required to pay those as soon as possible. So we expect that once we start processing returns, that we're going to work to make sure that we get those payments out as well, and we're going to again try to make those payments out as soon as possible. We highly suggest those. So the language that we were able to get put into our implementation plans for EIP 1 and 2 was validly filed and processed, and that's very important because you could have submitted a paper form to us, but that paper form may not be processed with us for a couple of months because it takes almost that time for us to be able to get it scanned, get it transmitted, and then for us to kind of get to it. So the validly filed and processed language is very important. And that is why I want to suggest highly to people, if you can, file online. And the reason is once you file it online, it's already processed. So as long as all the information on your return is valid, meaning, your social securities are able to clear, your dependents are fine, we don't find anything else on your return when you file it online that is otherwise something that we need to look at, it's already considered basically considered validly filed and processed. So, for those people who may file a paper return on Feb 12th, that paper return was going to take time for us to process. But for people who file a online return on Feb 12th, that's going to be in our system. We're going to be able to get to it more quickly. So, I highly suggest, again, that people file their returns online. In this past year, what we worked to do on the 2019 returns is we began to expand what we allowed to be filed online. Historically, we have not allowed for people who have dependents to file online. Also, there were certain other things with regards to income limitations. So if you had any dependent children that you had to claim, you could not file online. If you had income over $100,000, you also could not file online. So now for 2020 tax returns, you'll be able to file if you have income over $100,000 or at least wages over $100,000. You'll also be able to file if you have dependents. And so this is important, again, because more people should be able to file online. We also are making it so that, you could claim the recovery rebate credit, and you can also work to include in your income the amounts from your 1099-G, that 1099 government that people may be getting for PUA and FPUC. So for people who receive the Department of Labor unemployment benefits, for people who have dependents, for people who have to claim the RRC and are going to get paid additional, all of those things can be claimed now on our 1040s for 2020. Again, we are working to try to get as many people to file online as possible because it helps us on the back end, but it also helps people in terms of our ability to get payments out to you for the rebate recovery credit.
Daph, for those who received EIP 1, is there a miscellaneous tax form that they are going to get for when they file?
No. So EIP is actually non-taxable. You don't get any interest on it though, right? But it is it is not taxable.
So let's say those people who didn't file in 2019, and again, I don't know what they were thinking. They don't need to like have any additional form if they got their EIP 1.
No. So for EIP 1 and 2, if you did receive it, you just need to know the amount, because there is a section on the Form 1040 or in one of the schedules where you're going to have to enter that information. You'll just have to know what it is so that you can make sure you enter or complete your tax return properly. Because if you don't enter it properly, our system actually will have an error. It'll error out your return, and then it'll take time to try to resolve that.
Are the forms online already?
No, so this is the thing, Sabrina. We're working to get those forms up, hopefully by Feb 12 as well, along with the same date that we're going to be receiving the payments. Our team, I was on the phone with them earlier. We are actually wrapping up the testing for the paper filing, and now we're going into the testing for the online form. So we're hoping that those are going to be simultaneously launched, but we'll provide more information. We're also going to be providing more information on what you can file online. We're finalizing our releases on those, so we're hoping we're getting that out early next week at the latest.
Wow. That was a lot. Very
So file online, guys.
Yeah.
Again, those of you who didn't file your 2019, file online. That's the hack. If you file online, it's instantly processed. If you filed paper the good old-fashioned way, then good luck.
It just takes a little bit.
It takes a couple months because they're backlogged and they gotta, you know what I mean.
And we did put the link, as Daph said, so it's myguamtax.com, and you can find that in our comment section. Just click on that. I mean, it's all the forms you'll ever need and everything like that, and it's going to make your customer service experience a lot smoother. Just
real quick, for those who are going to file online, whether it's 2019, 2020, what documents do they need to scan? Go ahead.
So this is how it works. And actually, we actually close out the prior year. So the 2019 returns, the online, we actually stopped receiving those online on October 15. Yeah. So after the deadline for filing the 2019 returns, we closed out the portal so that people cannot file any more of their returns online. When we open up the portal again, we're targeting Feb 12. That's going to be for 2020 tax returns. Okay. And just to be clear, if you do not, if you're not able to get an EIP 2 because you don't have a validly filed and processed 2019 return in the system before we get to this March 19 date, then you're going to have to get you're going to have to get the payment as a recovery rebate credit. Yeah. You're not going to be able to get it as an EIP 2. Right. And that's, again, very, very important.
And
when you file online, just make sure that, because we do a few things. Make sure that your social security numbers for yourself, your spouse, and your dependents is correct, because we actually go through a validation system. We make sure that, the social security numbers are correct. And I know people have had challenges because if your social security number, for whatever reason, like I know people who may not have, after they got married, they may not have changed their name on their social security card, but they did change their name on their tax return. And so when we send those in to get validated, it gets kicked back because their names don't match. Also, I've seen where, perhaps, like, for example, my parents, decided to name, my first name is Dafne Jolene. So, but on my tax return, maybe my parents claim me and they only put Dafne and they don't put Jolene. That could also be problematic. So we really need for people to make sure that when they file their returns, that they make sure that those information ties with their social security cards, because when we do validate, we do make sure that those tie, and the system will, although you file it online, it may kick it back. Now, when you file online though, Chris, and your question was, what documents do we need to scan? So what happens with us is when you file online, you actually don't have to attach any documents, even your W-2 or the 1099-G. And that's because on the back end, we do have a system for checking those. And that's why when people file their W-2, W-3SSs with us, employers, we have to get those actually get processed. So on the back end, those get reconciled. And if there is an issue with your W-2 not matching, then those again will get kicked back. So again, that's why all of the timing, and there's a lot of things that perhaps people don't realize about the reason why we have certain deadlines and why we do the things we do. But because again, there's a lot of things that our system has to do and validate so that way people can, we can validate and make payments to people.
Okay, so you can file 2019 online. That's something you have to drop off. 2020 online filing, hoping to be open February 12th.
Correct.
Um,
And again, I want to recommend highly that people, if you qualify, and we will send out the release on that. If you qualify to file online, again, I recommend highly that you file online because it will be in our system. You don't have to worry about, the time it takes for us to process. And that's very important. My team was mentioning to me that for 2018, we had about 700 2018 tax returns, we had about 700 online filers. For 2019 tax returns, we had over 7,000 filers. And so that's it's like a 10-time increase. The other thing is we have about 70 to 80,000 actual tax returns that get filed. And so, we're happy that maybe about 10%, almost 10% of our filers were able to file a 2019 return. So for 2020, we're definitely hoping to get more people to file. Also, if you recall, in the last few weeks, we actually made our first direct deposits of refunds. And so for 2020, we're going to be doing that as well. We're going to provide more information on how people will be able to do that and what the criteria are. But that's something else that we're going to be launching, and we're excited about that.
Daph, we have a call for you with a caller with a question. Ma'am, go ahead. You're on with Dafne Shimizu, Rev Tax Director.
Good morning. I have a question. If you're an individual with a disability and you need help filing your tax, how do we go about that process?
I'm sorry, Chris, I couldn't hear.
Oh, okay. Ma'am, stand by. She's a person with disabilities, and she's asking if she needs help filing. How do they go through that process?
Okay, so I was talking with my team about that, and we have, as a kind of as a courtesy service, we've been, our team actually does some preparation for our Manamco and our individuals with disabilities. We are going to be doing that when we open up our filing season as well. We will have to limit the number of people that we're going to be able to serve, but we're going to continue to do that. So we'll be able to provide some more information on the hours and how you'll be able to go about doing that. But our team, again, for many years, and it's not required by law, but we really just do it as a kind of a courtesy service for our people. We will, like we did in the past, we'll continue to do that, but people will have to get in line, and we're going to have more information on how that service will work.
Ma'am, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. We'll see you. Thank you for your call. Be safe.
Thank you.
Daph, we had a comment here. What about a Judah program in Salapi? Do they need a 1099 for that when they file?
And is Judah Mangafa or
Any of the Judah thingies?
So Judy Mangafa and Programin Salapi, I am not certain if there are 1099s that also are going out for that. I'm not sure. And so that's something that we'll have to likely check on. I know that if you read through the language of the executive orders that created those programs, at least Programin Salapi was created by an executive order. You'll be able to see some information on, more details on that, but I am not sure, Sabrina and Chris, if people are getting 1099s for that.
Okay. And then if we're filing, again, those 2019 filers, do they need to indicate anywhere on their filing about the recovery rebate credit?
Yes, as I mentioned, there is going to be a section where you're going to have to enter, the amount of the economic impact payment that you received or didn't receive. And based on that, so say I received $800 of EIP2, and then when I get to my 2020 return, because my income level and my eligibility is such that I actually will get another, I'm supposed to get $1,200, right? So then on my, I need to enter the $800 or whatever it is that I received on my return so that I could get the difference, right? And that's why it's very important that people know how much they get in EIP 1 and 2, because that information is actually required to be entered on your return. We did when we sent out the EIP 1 notices, advise that people should keep their notices so that way they know how much they received. But again, I believe what our team's doing is that when you do the EIP2 lookup, you'll also be able to do the EIP1 lookup so that you'll have all that information. In the event that you lost your letter, in the event that you don't recall and you don't have a copy or didn't note in your register how much your check was that you got for EIP1 or 2, those information we're working to make available when we do the EIP lookup.
Anything else, Bree? I feel like there's something we're forgetting to ask about. Daphne, is there anything we're forgetting to ask about?
You know what? There's a lot of things happening at Rev Tax. Again, our EIP2 payments, we're going to be rolling them out as soon as possible. So, just be watching out for that. We've done about $42 million. It's $42,067,662 of EIP payments as of this past Wednesday. We're going to continue to make those payments. For people who are working to prepare their returns already for 2020, we'll begin to receive those on Feb 12. Again, I highly recommend that people consider filing online because that will help you as long as you qualify. It will be very helpful in terms of making sure that your return is in the system, so that when we begin to make recovery rebate credit payments, that those will be able to be made as soon as possible. So encourage everybody to file online. Also, again, want to say thank you to you guys for letting me on. Our team is here this morning, making sure that our vehicle registration people who are coming in for vehicle registration are being served. But throughout the week, Monday through Friday, our team is available and open. We're going to do our best, Sabrina, to address the issues of our phone lines. I know that's been something that has come up multiple times. But again, I want to thank you all, and I want to thank the people of Guam for being very patient with us. And I also want to thank GPD for being here at 5:30, and also shout out to my team as well for coming here, the ones that have been coming here at 5:30 in the morning to make sure that, we're able to get people in and serve them as soon as possible. But again, thank you all. If you have any questions, Chris and Sabrina and Jason, you can always message me. So that the people who are listeners of the link, if you have questions, Sabrina, Chris, and Jason, they email me or they can message me so that we can get answers to you. If you let them know, we'll get answers to you as soon as we can, and so we can help you in that way.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Daph.
Thank you so much. Have a great day and stay safe.
You too.
Appreciate
Stay
it.
safe.
Have a good day, Daphne. Have a good weekend. There you go. That's about 8 hours of information in one 30-minute interview.
She's awesome. It's like, you have any questions? No, she answered everything.
Yeah. No. Oh, wait. And then when I ask a question, he's like, yeah, like I said.
But key takeaway: the online resources are there. Please file online.
Yes.
I mean, I know that the phone thing can be a drag for like many of you who are trying to get through and everything like that. The online stuff, it does work. It's very, very simple. It's available for you 24/7. So please make use of it.